Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the 13th edition of the Untitled FWA podcast. It's me, S, and I am not joined by Man this evening. He is unfortunately out playing football with his friends, so he is not able to join us on this 13th edition of the podcast. So instead, I am joined tonight by everybody's favorite mod. It is Dubb. Hello, Dubb. How are you doing today?
Howdy, 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 and an upgrade, I think, for sure.
I completely agree. I completely agree. We're having a lot of episodes of the Untitled podcast start with howdies nowadays. I'm not sure if I'm enjoying this trend, but Tommy was our last guest on January the 4th. It was, I think, off the top of my head, which of course was also the day of Wrestle Kingdom, the second biggest wrestling event of that day, behind episode
Right.
12 of the podcast. So that was just before the cards and the promos went out from Meltdown 25 and Fallout 25. So looking back to then, we we had on that episode the quite huge event of Chris Peacock cashing in his world championship briefcase
Hmm.
directly after the equally massive main event of Alistair Black versus Devin Golden, which seems quite a long time ago now. But that was what the world title picture was looking like back then. Devin Golden obviously picking up the big W there with an excellent promo, kind of tying together a lot of the ideas from his
Hmm.
work over the last year. And what have you thought in general about that solipsism arc of Devin Golden, who of course is now retired, and specifically the world title promo, and Golden's unfortunate second short world title reign at roughly the same time of the year as last year?
Yeah, I thought it was the story that Devin was telling was really cool and just so unique. And it was kind of unfortunate the timing that it ended up coming against Raw and Aleister Black because it was just this whole story about how Aleister finally got the world title in the Battle Royal, and it was just so cool to see that happen. And then he runs into basically the culmination of this long story for Devin, and it was going to be hard to beat that promo for anybody, just because it's something that TGO I know had been planning for a long time. He knew going into it what he was going to do, and it was really unique. And so the promo was obviously great, but I thought Alistair still came up with a pretty strong showing. And I think Raw was even sick back then, and dealing with a lot of stuff. So I know that kind of played into it a little bit, but at the end of the day, it was going to be hard to beat it. So of course Devin gets the win, and then the whole cash in for Peacock. It was really no other way I think the F1 could have gone at that point than to have someone in the semis pull out based on how the F1 had played out to that point. It was just very fitting that's what happened. And then of course we got the Peacock Devon match, which uh, you know, culminated in another title change and another person finally getting a title. And we'll see how long that lasts, I guess.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, I agree with what you say about Devin Golden's promo, especially about how it tied up quite a lot of things, not only with the specific story he's been telling over the last year, in terms of the interactions that Devin was
Hmm.
having kind of in the more descriptive elements, but also tying up a lot of the relationships and stories that Devin has been telling for several years, for many years, in the segments where Devin was right into um, various figures from his past, like Randy Ramon, Ryan
Hmm.
Rondo, those kind of
Hmm.
guys. I think Devin needs to work on staying within the lines because quite a lot of the time his handwriting was pretty poor. But his handwriting was good, but his ability to write on the lines was disappointing.
Well, better
But
than
yeah,
mine.
but
Uh,
yeah, it was an exceptional promo. It was graded very highly, and I think it will be definitely in the running for promo of the year by the time that we get there. So it's a shame that Devin now, only a few weeks later, is apparently retired as a result of the aforementioned cash in for Chris Peacock, who spent a lot of 2021, 2022 coming very close to either winning the World Championship in the Fallout 22, I want to say, Battle Royale for the World Championship. But also coming very close in other number one contender matches, Golden Opportunity
Hmm.
2021, Carnal Contendership 2021, where I believe he placed third. That might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Peacock came in third in that year. I think Crash was second. And then Carnal Contendership 2022, where he came in second again, obviously. He's come so close so many times to getting that championship shot. So it was nice to see Man finally do it with what I'm sure was an excellent promo. Not that I can remember a huge amount about it now, so I'm going to ask you to talk about the promos for that match if you can remember them a little bit better than I can. But
Um, I remember the so with for Peacock, the it was the zombie promo, which was pretty cool, pretty unique to see, and was a lot of fun. And then actually trying to remember the Alistair promo, and I'm completely blanking
it was
on it myself.
the Devon promo, wasn't it? The Devon promo. Peacock would have beat Devon back in
Oh,
town.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
the Devon promo was that the one where he was kind of handing things off to XYZ, or was that I can't remember if that was
That might have been
that
an
that
XYZ promo.
promo.
So Man's promo was indeed the zombie promo. It was
Yeah.
the kill count promo, which was a really cool idea. I'm not familiar with what he was referencing at all, really,
Yeah,
in
that was
his
a
promo.
YouTube thing,
Yeah, apparently so, apparently
but
so. But it's not something that I'm aware of at all. But it was still a very fun promo, very very unique. I think it's fair to say that the Devin Golden promo wasn't quite as good as the previous promo against Raw against Aleister Black. Titled "I'll Never Have a Perfect Ending." I'm just looking at it now, which is a reference to perhaps the fact that TGO as well as the Devin Golden character was prepared for that Fallout 24 match against 25
that's
match,
right.
sorry,
Yeah.
against Alistair to be the final match in his career. But obviously, this one was the next one, and indeed the last one. So yeah, it is the promo where we have XYZ and Sourceman and that kind of stuff. Obviously a very good promo because it's TGO and it wouldn't be
Mhm.
anything other than that. But Peacock too strong for Devin at back in town. So yeah, World Championship, you were correct. More holders. We've had four since Lights Out, in the form of Golden, Black, Kona, and Peacock, not in that order. Perhaps a fifth in just over a week's time. But yeah, so the World Championship scene has been tumultuous. Not the case for the X Championship, which
Mhm.
is now official as of, I believe, today, the
Yeah,
world
I
over.
think
Yeah.
that's right.
Well, we're recording this on Thursday, so it'll be yesterday when this goes live. But Aleister Black, the longest reigning ex-champion in FWA history, a huge accomplishment for Raw and
Yeah,
for
big
Aleister
props.
Black. Not diminished for Black because he's fictional. I think it's still commendable. So yeah, excellent achievement there, and really incredible reign with many championship defenses. To name but a few, we had him defend. We saw him defend against Sean Summers. We saw him defend against Gabrielle. Saw him defend against XYZ in singles and against XYZ and Harry the Same Wizard, who was the Gauntlet God in a triple threat match. Another triple threat match at the Warehouse against Danny Toner and Chris Peacock, which is a really remarkable defense, really, because those two were both on an absolute roll when he did that. Gerald Grayson at the CDW show. So yeah, incredible showing for Aleister Black and Raw over the course of 500 and something days. Yeah, remarkable. Any thoughts upon Aleister Black's reign?
I mean, you've pretty much nailed it. Although you did forget the most important defense, which was his last one against Wardlow.
Sorry, I'm not. Wardlow's in AEW. I'm not sure I follow.
Wardlow. Yeah,
I've
no,
never noticed your speech impediment before pronouncing W's as R's. It's usually the other way around. But okay.
no,
Um,
but I mean, it's great. I mean, it's it's hard to believe that you see all the titles that change hands so constantly in FWA. So I think even now it's that's an impressive feat for sure.
Definitely, definitely. The North American Championship has stayed in since the last podcast. It had recently become the possession of Brian Baxter, who I believe defended back in town against Lizzie Rose. That's correct, right?
Yep, yep.
What did you do for your promo at back in town?
Don't
this is this
ask me.
is
You know I'm old, right? I can't remember these
this
things.
this is your promo.
Um, what was my promo for back in town with Brian Baxter? It was hold on. I'm gonna refresh my own memory here, and it was.
It's disappointing that you don't remember. This is
I,
Big Brian Baxter
I write so
in
many promos, and
in
I don't know when they happen. Yeah, it was
have a nice day. Have a
everybody.
nice
Oh
day.
yeah, I remember this now. It was it was where Brian was kind of in this world where Lizzie Rose is making everybody like her and making everybody super nice and all that good stuff, and Brian was just not having it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Okay.
enjoyed writing that one. I don't remember it, but I enjoyed writing it. I
I
remember it
I
now.
I don't remember it at all, which was making me think maybe my memory's terrible.
You might not have graded that one. I
I
don't
think
know,
I'm
but
pretty sure I did grade it. So yeah. So that's pretty.
well, I wrote it and couldn't even remember what I had done. But
That's how remarkable it is.
like I said, I'm old, so you'll have to forgive my memory sometimes.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Television Championship, the other singles belt in the FWA, changed hands at back in town in a four-way match between Sean Summers, the new champion following the match, Vampira, the former defeated champion, Deathwalker, and Jason Randall. One thing worthy of note, I think, about that match is Deathwalker. I think has been a really good addition to the Fed
Yeah,
over these last few weeks. The promos he's writing, he's got a very unique voice for his character for sure. It doesn't really feel like anything else that anybody's writing. Kind of verges upon sort of the supernatural, but
yeah.
more in a kind of psychological way, I think, at
Hmm.
times. Yeah, and a kind of a gritty approach as well to writing, which is good to see. Deathwalker coming up short there in that, but he's picked up two big wins following that match, and I think he had a couple of big wins before that match as well. So Deathwalker definitely one to watch. Um, Sean Summers and Vampira, the two best promos in that match, though. I
Hmm.
thought, and Sean Summers just pipping to the victory with very creative promo and very raw promo as well. And at times a very aggressive promo
Yep.
in a way that only CBK can write. But yeah, excellent matchup that was at the back in town pay per view with some very good promos. Television title scene is definitely heating up, and is kind of rising to the almost to the grade standard that you're seeing from North American and the X Championship, which is really good to see.
Yeah, and Summer's character is always pretty interesting and engaging, and I think if I remember correctly, the scoring was pretty close for that one. But obviously Summer's just kind of just edging out, and it's good to it's kind of seeing the direction it's going, and we'll talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about where that's kind of going from here.
Yeah, 0.35 gap there was in the grades. Yeah, I think you had it by only 0.25 actually. I had it by a little bit wider at 0.45, but a very close match between Van Buren and Summers for sure for the television championship. We don't need to talk about the tag team titles really because everything's just trundling along. The wheels are moving, the engine's being oiled. Everything's been dusted down. We're just trundling along. But of course,
Holding them in place until
the
until CC.
sad news obviously is that it's now a one handler team with Jam Gordon, but not
Yeah.
forgotten, of course. He's not dead, don't worry. He's just not promoted at the moment. Hopefully, we'll see him again soon, rejoining the connection because because we miss him. But yeah. Okay, so that's run down of the title picture. We also saw the conclusion, or the climax would probably be a better word, a better synonym there. The climax of the F1 conclusion tournament, which saw four people make the semi-finals at the Fight Night Final Four, kind of super show. We saw Brian Baxter against Michelle von Horowitz in a barnstormer of a match with a thoroughly clean finish for Michelle over Brian.
As
He
they
was
all are, right?
well. I think that one actually could make a cogent argument for being clean. Oh no, I'm misremembering. I thought that she used the weapon that Scorpion threw in, but she used the weapon that Uncle
I
threw
think
in.
they
So
both had their own, yeah.
yeah, that is true. That is true. Um, and we also saw Cyrus Truth overcome Alistair Black with a ferocious promo, which
Mhm.
saw him through into the final of the F1 against old rival Michel Van Horowitz, and another far from clean finish, which has led us to where we are now, which we'll get to in more detail later. Any thoughts on the conclusion of the climax or the tournament in general?
It was BS, and no, yeah, it was exciting. It was pretty cool that Cyrus had the chance to come back in and really made the most out of his second opportunity, and obviously beating Alistair Black is huge, and was not certainly not easy, and then the promo against MVH was also really good, and so it's kind of cool that he's had that, and of course, leading up to the now triple threat, it's going to be interesting to see because Cyrus always brings it every week, and so pretty cool. And no, I mean, I was proud of how far Baxter got. I mean, never really expected to even get that far when I threw him into it. So, good competition. No harm in losing to MVH, I guess.
Well, yeah. There, of course, there's absolutely no shame in that. Like you shouldn't worry about it. Shouldn't worry about it. It's happened to some of the greats over the years. Okay, which brings us on nicely, I guess, to a discussion now of the upcoming Grand March weekend. So we have the king of the Deathmatch 2-day tournament on Friday the 7th and Saturday the 8th of April in 1 week's time. And then the following night on Sunday, the 9th of April, we have the Grand March from Chicago, Illinois, both coming to you live on the WC network, of course. King of the Deathmatch, just to quickly run down the field of 12, 11, I think. I don't think we're expecting a promo from Logan Darwin, but we might be surprised. Who knows? So we've got Alistair Black, we've got Trixie Bordeaux, we've got Reagan Cole, we've got Cleo DeSantos, we've got Madison Gray, we've got Anzu Kurosawa, we've got Jason Randall, Deathwalker, Weasel Person, Sawyer Xavier, and XYZ, plus 8 mystery participants. It might not be 8. We'll see who promos. Some people might end up getting lost in the desert on the way to the venue. We'll see how
When
that.
that happens.
Yeah, it does. It does happen a lot. The
Yeah.
desert's a big place, and it all looks very similar. And obviously, we have the Crown of Thorns and the FWA X Championship on the line. Do you remember last year's King of the Deathmatch, Dubb?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun, and obviously, unfortunately, it's the champion's not there to defend it that we know of, anyway.
Well, the champion will be there, but not to defend
That's
it.
right. He's on
Unfortunately, he
commentary.
is on commentary. Who will be joining Anzu Kurosawa on the commentary booth? I wish that
Well, I mean, if
Thomas.
Anzu can be in it, though, I mean,
Well, so Anzu is in.
what do you know?
Anzu is in it, but not to win it. That's the thing. If Thomas West was going to be in it, he'd have to win it. So then, then he wouldn't be able to grade. It wouldn't work. Um, all right, so we have a lot of mystery participants there. Hopefully, in that match, in that tournament. Obviously, you can't really predict one of those to win on account of it being a big spoiler. But of the field, who are your ones to watch going into the King of the Death match?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, obviously the mystery opponents are wild cards, but just looking at who is there, it's obviously hard to bet against Aleister Black, just in general. I mean, he's been in these situations before, uh, and certainly is capable of throwing up, a promo of the year contender and wiping everybody else away. But there's some other names on here that are ones to watch too because it really I think Trixie, just kind of going down the names here. I mean, Trixie's kind of coming into well, she's coming into, I guess, his own when writing Trixie and starting to get more confident and get better at what he's doing there. And she's pretty interesting, especially in this environment. It'd be pretty funny to see what she's going to do in a death match situation.
Definitely.
Then Regan Cole, and that'll be interesting to see his story unfold with Jeffrey Mason in his corner, and what type of death match experience will come there.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
unfortunately, Jeffrey Mason will not be in his corner because the participants are being told to come alone to the desert. So
oh,
there
that's
won't be
good
won't
point.
you won't be there
Well,
with him, but maybe he can
well, the training leading up to it,
exactly,
the
yeah, some
advice and all
stage
that good stuff.
advice. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I mean,
Um,
both of those guys, Trixie and Reagan, have picked up momentum. Reagan obviously didn't quite get the victory last week against Peacock, but put in an excellent
yeah,
showing,
strong showing. Yeah,
taking the world champion to the
and
4 minute warning. And Trixie's won two on the bounce now, albeit in tag matches, but she was the one to get the pin in maybe both of those matches, at least one of them, which means that Trixie was the highest graded promo in the team. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, so
KDS will be motivated to come in, but after the runner-up last year, so
yeah,
definitely
big
think that's
performance.
one to watch for sure. And then, like you said, Deathwalker, every week, gets more and more interesting, is building up more and more of a character. And so, in the way he's been kind of, destroying some folks and the attacks on XYZ. So that's, I think he could go put up a strong showing. And then XYZ himself, because it's TGO.
Yeah,
He's pretty capable of putting up some pretty good stuff, and so he could surprise, as
yeah,
surprising as it would be for TGO to do something really good.
yeah. I mean, XYZ's always got a chance, especially because he won't be promoing as Devin Golden
Yep.
at this at this pay-per-view either. So it's something that it's a pay-per-view that he can focus completely on XYZ. KDS obviously had a great performance last year. I think she could go far into the semis or even the final again this year. Hemlock is talking about the effort that he's going to put into this promo, and we've seen in the last week as well, in the joint promo with
Yep.
Trixie, what he's capable of. So we can see we can look forward to a good promo there, for sure. Um, Weasel person is one to keep an eye on, for sure. I got a chance to have a few words with Weasel person earlier. I asked him what he's hoping to achieve in this tournament, and he told me bark, which I thought was very insightful. But Weasel person is a one that could go far. Absolutely, judging on the grades from the first promo that he put in, I obviously didn't grade it. Who do you think Weasel person is? Still, just out of interest, who do you think it is?
I think it's Josh Drake coming back and really just going 100 and 180 degrees on the
Okay,
jumping the shark.
okay,
Just going all in on it.
okay. Well, maybe. I think maybe it's OJ. I think maybe he's working us.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that would make sense.
Long con. Um, okay. So moving on to the main card. We have the Grand March from Chicago, Illinois, Sunday, the 9th of April, 2023. The first match notable for several reasons. Firstly, it is I believe it's the pay-per-view debut of Kerry's, who will team with Princess
Hmm.
Nova to take on Lizzie Rose and Joe Burr, a team that were valiantly defeated by the Connection a few months ago. And then also notable for the match writing return of the Battle Tank, which we're obviously hugely
Very,
excited for to see him
very excited.
back into the fold. What have you made of Eternal since the debuts of Nova, Kerry's, and the team more recently?
It's been interesting. I know they though both of their handlers are very creative, and we're certainly seeing that in the some of the planning that's been going on back in the background leading up to this match, and the promos and what we've seen so far has been very unique. So pretty exciting to see where they can go. I know they were just kind of getting going, and they were thrown right into the tag title scramble match, and with kind of new characters. I know sometimes it's harder to uh, promo and that sort of thing when you're still developing your character. Once you kind of get to a certain point, your promos become more, that there's more lore behind them and that sort of thing that goes into it. But they still had a really strong showing in that match, and so from what we've seen, this whole uh, world that they're developing in the background with the torn universe.
Mm,
There's I'm pretty excited about where they could go with that, and
yeah.
the whole story with Lizzie has been pretty interesting, and I know AON's really enjoying working with them. So this one should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. The EFED within the
Yeah.
EFED is a very interesting idea. FYOG is the initials. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think Nova and Kerry's have been an excellent addition to the roster. Nova obviously picked up a huge win at back in well, big win back in
Mhm.
business over Sawyer Xavier, Logan Darwin, and Madison Gray in a four-way match.
Mhm.
Picking up $10,000. Not bad, not bad. Lizzie Rose, obviously more established name in the Fed. Former North American champion, Joe Burr, former Gauntlet champion. So there's obviously some pedigree there. Could be a close match. Who's your prediction? Who are you taking for the win in the opener?
I will. I'll predict Eternal to
Okay.
win. I think they'll. I think the mind games with Lizzie may pay off here, and I don't know. Who knows what'll happen during the match, but I think that'll be the difference maker there.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So if Lizzie Rose was teaming with, you know, almost 90% of other people on the roster, I'd probably go Lizzie because I'm a big Lizzie fan. But Joe Burr, obviously, man's focusing on the Peacock promo. You got to imagine he's focusing on the Peacock promo. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna take Eternal as well in the opener. I think I'm gonna take Eternal. This is a competition, by the way. So whoever wins this is the winner. Second match, we have Mike Parr taking on Jackson Phoenix. Both men won their last two singles outings. Mike Parr with victories over Caden Knox and Reagan Cole. And we've seen Jackson Phoenix triumph in a triple threat match against one of the Lapones and one of the Ravenwoods. I can't remember which one it is. In the previews, I think I put different ones each time. And then a victory over Trevor Walker last week on Meltdown 27. Uh, so yeah, Parr's return has brought him some good fortunes, and this is number one contender chip match for the FWA North American Championship, a belt that you are obviously currently in possession of.
Mhm.
Um, Phoenix really for me has been a kind of a rising star over the last few months, which is odd to say because he's been part of the furniture for so long, but really upped his game I think in the last few weeks. So as has Randall, even with the two losses to the connection. Those matches were both very close within a point really, which is a testament to Jimmy and what he's doing at the moment with these characters. The Prodigy obviously is always a strong writer.
Mhm.
Mike Pye's got many records with the North American belt. Um, I'm going to predict who you picking.
Uh, you know,
Then I'm
I
then I'm a
I'm a
big
big fan of it probably goes without saying I'm a big fan of Jackson Phoenix and Nate Savage. Their promos, Jimmy's promos for them are always so entertaining. And I have the pleasure of working with them for a while, and anytime I get to write them into my promos, I do because they're just so fun to write for as well. And like you said, this kind of the direction Jackson has been going, especially since back in town, and the whole reflection on what happened between the with the Jeremy Best story. It's kind of interesting to see where Jackson's going. That being said, but it's hard for me to bet against Parr. He's pretty motivated since coming back, and he was the North American champion, and certainly wants to get it back. So I think he's going to come in really motivated to get back to it. As much as I would love another showdown between Jackson Phoenix and if Brian Baxter retains, then that would be another fun showdown. But I think I'm going to go with Parr.
Okay, okay. Well, I'll let you choose first, so I could pick the other one. Because we've got to have some difference if it's a competition.
Sure,
So
sure.
I'm going to have Phoenix. I'm going to take Jimmy. Jimmy's going to do me proud. And obviously, I've never forgiven Parr since the lead pipe attack on MBH. So yeah, we're pulling for Jackson in that one. Okay, moving on with the rundown of the Grand March card. We have the fourth match now between Brian Baxter and a mystery opponent for the
You're just going to skip over the third match like that?
I didn't, King of the Death match, Eternal match, Mike Parr. No, no, I think
I
we're
mean,
good. Okay, so Brian Baxter then will defend his North American Championship in this mystery opponent match. Talk us through the rundown to this, right? It's been hinted at that it's somebody that Baxter has something of a history with. Is that correct?
yeah. Apparently, it's going to be somebody from whether it's from the his FWA history, somebody he's had a run in with at some point in time, which obviously that's a pretty long list of people that probably, especially over the last few months, that have uh, maybe not agreed with the outcomes of some of the matches he's been in, or certainly some people that aren't too happy with him and Mr. Scorpion, or maybe it's somebody from somebody from his past. I don't know.
Okay,
But pretty long list of enemies that he's made over the years. So
of
I don't
course.
know.
Interesting, very interesting. I just take a bit of a sidestep now, and go back to FWA Untitled podcast roots maybe, and talk to you a little bit about your Ethan in history, if you're okay with that. Because
Yeah,
I
fine.
didn't say we were going to do that earlier, but why not? Um, yeah. So you joined the Fed about 18 months ago now, probably a bit less than that.
Yeah,
Perhaps
I think it
around.
was what September, I think, or so, like September of what 2021.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
And I'm correct in thinking that there was a long gap since your previous.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So talk us through that. Talk us through when was your first
yeah.
EFED, what your first EFED was. Yeah.
So, and I don't, again, my memory coming into play here, but I started in, gosh, I'm pretty sure I was in middle school, so it had to have been like 2000, maybe 1999-ish. I didn't get so I got into wrestling itself in like 96, and then but didn't really discover e-fetting probably for a couple years after that. But so yeah, middle school probably pretty not the greatest when it came to writing and that stuff back then. But we
Mhm.
were I know I had joined a company called EFED called Internet Rampage Wrestling, IRW, and as far as I know, that was my first one that I was in, and you know was in it for I don't know how long. Well, it couldn't have been that long, but had a couple characters, and eventually, at some point in time, the guy that was running it had to leave or something, and so for whatever happened, I ended up running it. I don't even remember what the circumstances were, but I ended up taking over and probably ran it for a couple of years or so. um, Doing that, and I was in some other ones that I don't remember necessarily recall.
Mm.
But it's it's funny, that it kind of died off. It was had some pretty cool people, some pretty I thought, especially for back then, some pretty creative people that it was working with, and we had kind of a similar kind of community set up, except it wasn't through Discord. It was on I think ICQ, that chat program from back then, and
Yeah.
we'd always have chat, a group chats going on and that sort of thing in that environment. So it was very, there was a lot of similarities even back then to,
Yeah.
it was a pretty cool community, but just people started, getting into high school and getting into, I guess, some people may were a little older, getting into college and that sort of thing, and just kind of fell off, and
Hmm.
it just didn't seem as popular anymore, I guess, either. I don't know if it was ever really popular, but
Yeah.
but I didn't even really know until I came to Wrestling Click that e-fetting really still existed. I
Mm.
didn't even know people still did it, and certainly saw what was going on there, and took me a while to get involved because I was I saw some of the some of the stuff that was going on. I probably can't. I don't know if I can jump back in and do this or not. So,
Okay.
I don't know what's finally made me decide to try it out. I guess maybe it just finally took the character idea that I came up with, and said, I could probably lose every week and still do something fun with Jeremy
Yeah.
Best.
Okay.
So and that was kind of the mentality I think I came into it with.
Okay. Talking about characters, but going back to previous EFEDs, do you remember, are there any characters that you used to have that stick out to you, either real wrestlers that you wrote as, or creator wrestler types?
Yeah, so I can't remember the exact. I know I had a guy that was like his his gimmick was literally Mr. Gimmicks, and basically it was a comedy character pretty much, and he would you know every week it was something new. He was always some type of, whether it was parodying another person or just something completely off the wall.
Yeah.
Um, you know, again, I was in middle school at the time, so you got to remember some of the things that you're going to come up with. But I remember, one of the things he did was, he was the toilet king, and he walked out around with a plunger in his hand,
Yeah.
and of course the throne was his, the toilet.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that kind of thing. Um, a more serious character I had was a guy named Al Weapon, which I don't even necessarily
Is
recall
that
what.
is that AI weapon? Sorry, AI
Yeah,
weapon.
yeah, AI weapon,
Okay. Yeah.
which was somehow born of I was when I was having talking with some of the folks that was in the that I was friends with in the EFED back then,
Yeah.
and I think it was a different EFED. I don't even remember what it was, but somehow we were talking about wrestling, and I typoed uh, Steve Blackman. I typoed the Lethal Weapon as Al Weapon. Uh,
I
so
was I
somehow
was
that
I was going to
that
suggest that AI weapon could be like a mecha Steve Blackman. That's what I was going to say. So that's okay. Cool.
So
Sorry.
somehow that kind of spawned Al Weapon, and his lethal injection finisher.
Nice. Okay.
So
Which Jay
and
Lethal obviously stole from you, of course.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
just like Aleister Black. Yeah,
Mm.
these guys are always stealing from us.
Yeah.
Um, and then of course Bill Scorpion actually was probably is the one carryover that I've kind of used for this whole
Okay.
time, and he was actually the authority figure, or the owner of that I created for when I took over IRW. So he was kind of the
Yeah.
evil authority figure for quite a while,
Okay.
and it looks like he ventured into this lore now.
Interesting. Were you on WC for a while before you joined FWA? I'm sure you were, weren't you?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was at least probably a year or so.
Okay. Were
Mainly
you
just doing the BTBs.
okay? Yeah. So when did you have the idea for the Jeremy Best character?
Um, Around the same day that I applied for it, put them in there pretty much.
Okay.
I had been thinking, I had been thinking about it for a little bit, and just kind of, I don't even, it just somehow kind of came to me like, what if it was this guy that was just obsessed with being everybody's friend, and he'd come out to the Toy Stories theme song, and have a lot of promos about trying to be friends with people, and had all sorts of different ideas that I probably didn't even use in any of the ones that I had at the time, just
Mhm.
because more started coming along. But no, I pretty much came up with the idea and signed up.
Okay. Okay. And just as he evolved in looks from Kenneth from 30 Rock to Archibald Peck, the writing evolved a lot as well, and in came Brian Baxter to back him up So I remember you talking to me actually about the original plan with Baxter and Best for kind of Baxter to be almost like a heelish foil for Best. I think that
Hmm.
was originally going to be the plan.
Yep.
And it kind of has obviously turned out that way. Has there been any differences in the way you've gone with the team? Anything from that original plan that has stayed the same?
It definitely, I mean, it's evolved over time. It wasn't the original plan was, like I said, he come in, they're going to be the team. I also had in the back of my head, the kind of the ultimate, direction I wanted to take Jeremy eventually, and sort of we've gotten to that point as well. And at the time, I didn't really know how Brian Baxter was going to factor into that. So it was all kind of dependent on what played out. I mean, honestly never expected to be able to turn Brian Baxter into an actual, successful singles
Mhm.
competitor. But that just kind of played out to the point where once I realized I'm ready to kind of take Jeremy in this direction, but it might make sense for him to not be kind of not be as active for a couple months during this whole search for Crash and that sort of thing, and but still being allowed to do Brian as when so well I qualified for the F1, so and I don't really want to put Jeremy in it because I need him to kind of take a back seat for a little bit here. So throw Brian in and see what happens, and the whole issues that they were having kind of evolved over time, I guess, and then certainly to where they are now.
Okay, and then obviously we had the huge events back in town with involving Crash and the buddy system. Talk about that huge swing in the story. When did you have the kind of the idea for that? Um, yeah, just talk about that huge moment on the pay per view. Probably one of the biggest moments on the pay per view for sure.
Yeah, the so the plan for Jeremy came about probably it wasn't initial. I definitely didn't sign up thinking he that was what he was going to turn into again. To admit originally it was just the someone I'm going to have fun with and just see where it goes. But I think it was probably when we did it's funny going back to every I go back to Cybernetico a lot just because that was kind of where it all started in a sense, and such a in a way it's a very random match that happened, and that's in terms of the pairing that the pairings and how they came about, but a lot of that random pairing of Crash and Jackson Phoenix and Conchu and Gerald and all these people that have kind of played a big role in what's happened to Jeremy moving forward all can kind of go back to that match, and it was from there it was Crash picked Jeremy, and then just kind of started to get in my head, well, what if Jeremy was just like really obsessed with being friends with Crash, and at that point kind of came up with the idea of at some point in time, I thought back to like the movie The Cable Guy with Jim Carrey, where he's obsessed with being friends with the guy, and I said, well, what if Jeremy was kind of like that, where he's kind of a psychopath in a sense, and so that's where that kind of came from. It kind of all spawned back to when we first started working, when me and Crash first started working together, when we were teaming up in Cybernetico, and eventually I pitched the idea. I pitched it pretty early to Crash, even before, it was way before back in town or back in business. I mean before he kind of took his step away.
Mhm.
That eventually this is would be cool to go this direction. He liked it, and but then he kind of stepped away, and eventually I came back to him and said, I don't know when you're planning to come back, but this is kind of an idea I have for that, and
Yeah, that's
he's
cool.
been pretty cool to work with for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. Um, which kind of brings us back to present day and the Brian Baxter versus mystery opponent match at the Grand March. So, can I get your prediction for the fourth match on the card?
Oh, Brian Baxter's going to win for sure, right? I'm not going to
Okay,
predict against myself.
okay. I'm going to go for the mystery opponent. Knowing who it is, I think he's going to wipe the floor with you. That's my prediction. Okay, so then we have the fifth match, Akamanto versus Ponyboy. I haven't read the Grim promo as of yet, but we're planning to do more in-depth reviews of promos on this card and King of the Deathmatch in the 15th episode when we'll be joined with CBK and Tommy, which takes me on nicely to the sixth match. Good to see Kieran back, by the way, with Aki Rai and Keiko, who I think he signed up with before, but maybe didn't have a match or had one match with.
Mm.
So yeah, definitely good to see Kieran back in the fold. But brings us
Yeah,
on. Oh,
yeah,
sorry, go on.
it was, and I've read it. And it was a nice introduction and kind of set the stage for where they're going. And so for a match that's basically you're going up against your I know hopefully John's not or not listening, but a jobber team. It was a pretty good showing.
I'm sure John won't be listening. Don't worry. Um, okay, then we've got Summers versus Bedlam in the penultimate match for the FWA Television Championship. A feud that's sort of come out of nowhere in the past few weeks, but is going many places. I feel, given sort of the talk by these two handlers behind the scenes. So Summers with his second reign with the television championship already picked up a defense against Joe Burr on the last set of shows, or maybe the set of shows before that. But now he comes up against Bedlam, who maybe hasn't had the best win-loss record as of late, but in terms of promo grades, promo quality, has been an excellent writer and a very worthy adversary for Sean Summers, both in terms of even the match promos. I think we'll see, and also in terms of being a foil for the character itself of the bastard. Um,
Hmm.
I'm gonna predict. I haven't read the Bedlam promo, so I'm predicting this. And just
I haven't either.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go for Summers in the sixth match. I think CBK has been doing some really interesting things. Um, so yeah, so I'm gonna go for Summers in what I think will be a close one.
Yeah,
Um,
I think
yeah,
it'll be. Yeah, I think it'll definitely be close. And I'm pretty excited to see. I haven't read the Tommy promo either, but I'm excited to read both of their promos. And Tommy, like you said, has been really on a tear, and the direction his character has been going has been pretty interesting. Yeah, I think he got really close to beating Cyrus. It was I think it was a tiebreaker vote, and so that says a lot right there.
yeah, for sure.
With anytime you can do that, and of course like we talked about earlier, Summers promos are always so gripping and engaging, and you never know what direction he's going to go. But I was I'm glad you picked first because I wanted to pick Tommy. So because I think again without having read the promo yet, I feel like he might be able to pull something off here, and maybe maybe we'll see this one go on for a little longer because it's so they I feel like they're just maybe kind of cutting the ground of what this could be, and I think they play off each other really well.
Yeah, yeah, I think this is definitely going to roll on. I think judging from some of the things that they've been saying in the Discord in the public sections, I think it's clear that this Summers Bedlam ain't finishing here. But then we move on to the main event, Mark Henry's favourite point in the evening because he gets a little bit of screen time, increasingly less as the weeks go on, which is worrying Rampage. But if Tony Khan's listening, we don't like that. But I think he's only marginally more likely to be listening than Dejo is. Um, so yeah, three-way dance, which means elimination rules with the FWA World Championship on the line. Chris Peacock versus F1 Climaxxx runner-up Cyrus Truth versus F1 Climaxxx winner Michelle von Horowitz, and a match that will be written by Mam. Huge triple threat. Going into this, we've got Peacock and Truth, obviously both very much in form, but I will, of course, be predicting the third glorious reign of Michelle von Horowitz
I
in the main event. So
had a feeling.
yeah, double champion coming up. Any thoughts on the main event?
I had a feeling that would be the direction you would go. I don't know why, but yeah, this should be fun. I think yeah, I'd be surprised if everybody didn't bring it in this one. Um, I guess going against common or recent trends. The that would say that Peacock probably will lose here, but yeah, but you never know. I'm
Well,
not going to.
Toner got a couple of successful defenses before,
That's true. That's true. Um, I'm gonna go with truth. I think it's his time. I think he's been on a tear, and I think that he wants this, and not to say that certainly you or Man don't, but I think he's going to come in and tear you guys a new one, and
Mm.
get a huge grade, and
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I'm expecting a vicious promo because he's got a lot of ammunition, definitely against MVH, but also against Peacock as well for sure. So yeah, I'm expecting something ferocious and agitating from Irish Truth for this show. But yeah, Truth, you're going for Truth. So we're both predicting Chris Peacock does not come away with the championship, and it's a shame that Man couldn't join us tonight to balance that out with a self proclamation of victory.
and everyone is happier that without Peacock as champion, I think so.
Well, yeah, I'm fine with
uh,
him. I'm fine with him being like television champion or
yeah,
something
yeah,
like
that's fine.
that, or
Yeah, yeah.
gauntlet
Well,
champion. Yeah, yeah, something along those lines. But yeah, it should be an excellent show. Quite well, 7 matches, but two of them are obviously matches involving at least one non-promo character. And then we have the Grand March as well in just 1 week's time. So I think that might be a good point for us to kind of wind down now, Dubb. So I will thank you very much for joining me for
yeah.
episode 13.
Thanks for having me. My podcast debut, so that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Mm, absolutely, yeah, me too. It'd be good to expand on that section where you discussed some of your Ethan history and that kind of stuff, but maybe we'll save that for a future episode. So yeah, so next week, next Friday, we have another podcast which will be AON with a career retrospective. That will also be the day that the Grand March weekend begins with the first night of the King of the Deathmatch. And then the week after that, we will be joined, well, me and Man will be joined by CBK and Tommy for a discussion of those shows, along with Gip joining us for some fantasy discussion. So for
That's
Dubb,
exciting.
yeah, it should be good. Should be good. If we'll have to work out how we can do subtitles on a podcast, but maybe a translator. We'll get someone who's spent some time in
We made it.
Liverpool.
We made it all the way to the end, and then we slip in the yep.
Well, I didn't mean it as an insult. People have different accents, and the Liverpool one is just impossible to understand. But anyway, that's enough for this evening from us. So thank you very much for joining us for episode 13 of the Untitled FWA podcast, and we'll see you next week for another edition. Good night.